Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino, and welcome to Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you, the audience, and how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Clearwater, Florida, we got Dean. How you doing, young man?
Doing well, sir. Doing well.
Awesome. We were talking offline. Dean lives in Clearwater, Florida, which I used to live there. I used to live in Port Richey, was literally 30 minutes away last year. So how is it out there in Clearwater today?
Today, I played tennis this morning. It was about 75 beautiful degrees, and it warmed up a little bit from there, but it's another gorgeous day in paradise.
Perfect. For the people that out there that don't know where we're at and what day it is, it's October. What is today? October 22nd. So in Michigan, you're not playing tennis right now. So Dean, do me a favor. Tell everybody where you're at in the world, in the business space, and how you got there.
Yeah. So currently, I'm the CEO of a not-for-profit company called the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group. It's a company that I formed about 5 years ago. It started with another company that is still our primary subsidiary called the National Center for Defense Manufacturing Machining, which has been around for a little over 20 years. Back when I was a vice president at General Dynamics, where I worked for 31 years, I was asked to join this not-for-profit board, and I did. And I was on that board for a little over 10 years when the other board members asked me if I'd be interested in taking over the company when the CEO retired, which I did. So I've been running the corporation now for about 6 years. And after 1 year of running NCDMM, I convinced the board there were other things that I'd like to do, and they agreed. So that's why I formed this parent holding company that I call the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group. But NCDMM, the National Center for Defense Manufacturing Machining, is still our number one subsidiary and about 99% of our business. So their specialization is helping the Department of War, formerly the Department of Defense, with their, let's call them their advanced manufacturing challenges. So, you know, they're always pushing the envelope for different types of technologies to build their platforms. We learn about some of the challenges that they're faced with. We find companies that have expertise that we think can be brought to bear to solve those challenges. We partner with them. We put together a team and go back to the DO. I always want to say DOD. I'm sorry, Department of War.
DOW.
Yeah, DOW. And tee up a proposal with them, and if they like it, they award a contract to us, and we become the program manager of that activity. So our company does not own any IP. We always tell everybody that we partner with, we never want to own any IP. So that gives our partners a degree of comfort that they know we're not trying to take anybody's technology. But we are experts in government contracting. We are experts in government accounting. Both of those are areas that a lot of the companies we partner with are small companies that have no experience at all with DoD contracting or accounting. So we provide that service as well as the overall program management of the project. When I started with the company in 2019, we finished that fiscal year at about 29 million in sales. And since then, we've gone from 29 to 39 to 60 to 80. Anyway, we're up this past year. We just finished our fiscal year, September 30th, 109 million. So we've grown from about 27 employees to about 84 employees as of today. And we are always looking for opportunities to help the warfighter, but we also are looking for opportunities to help small, medium-sized businesses. So another company that I formed that I call Advanced Manufacturing International, it has basically two approaches. One is to help small companies embrace some of the newer technologies like cobots, IoT edge devices, AR, VR, and of course, 3D printing. But we also help community colleges secure state funding to build out their manufacturing labs. You know, if you ever have the opportunity to go through a community college manufacturing lab, you might find an old Bridgeport mill, drill press, and a welder. we're helping them secure state funds to bring in 3D printing, AR, VR, IoT edge devices, and cobots. So that's another area that we're just recently started with, and we're penetrating, and we've landed a couple of $1 million here and there. So it's also going very, very well. But yeah, I'm very, very happy to be doing this. I spent 36 years in the defense industry working for Fairchild Republic right out of college in my hometown of Hagerstown, Maryland, making the A-10 airplane. Did that for about 5 years. Then I landed with this other company that eventually became a General Dynamics company. Originally, it was not, but it was a small company that I was hired as a program manager to go over to Egypt and set up a tank ammunition manufacturing line under a U.S. government contract. And that led to another opportunity in Turkey to do the same thing. And eventually, we were acquired by General Dynamics Corporation, and I ran a strategic business unit for them for about 14 years, making large caliber ammunition, tank ammunition, artillery ammunition, mortar ammunition, etc. And after a total of 36 years doing that, I decided it was time to give back. I wanted to do something other than just chase the almighty dollar for a for-profit company. And I found opportunities in the not-for-profit world that I've been very, very happy with. In fact, in 2014, when I left General Dynamics Corporation, I went to a brand new startup company in Chicago called UI Labs that was created by the University of Illinois, and they were successful in going after one of these Manufacturing USA institutes. I don't know how many of your listeners are aware of these institutes, but under President Obama, he decided he wanted to do something to help manufacturing, and his Council of Advisors on Science and Technology came up with this idea of creating this network of manufacturing innovation institutes across the country, each one of them being a public-private partnership. And the very first one focused on additive manufacturing. The company that I now am overseeing is actually the operator of that institute, and we call that America Makes, based in Youngstown, Ohio, but they're focused on maturing additive manufacturing technologies. But the second institute was called the Digital Manufacturing and Design Innovation Institute, and that was won by this company called UI Labs, a small not-for-profit that was created just to go after that opportunity. They're the ones that recruited me away from General Dynamics and made me an offer I couldn't refuse, half the money and twice the hours. How could you say no? So that's when I left the defense industry on the for-profit side and joined the rest of my career for the last 10 years has been in the not-for-profit world.
I like what you say, non-for-profit world, half the money and twice the effort. So
yeah, but the reward is much greater, right? So you really feel like you're making a difference. You're helping small, medium manufacturers. My father had a small welding and machine shop in Hagerstown, Maryland that I grew up in, one-man operation. We didn't have a lot of money, but we also never, as a kid, never had anything that as far as a want that I didn't even recognize wasn't being met. So we did okay. But I want to give back. I want to help small, medium manufacturers, especially mom and pop shops like my dad's, and having an opportunity to do that working for a not-for-profit has just been very, very rewarding.
Yeah, it is. I agree wholeheartedly. I helped start 2 nonprofits. It was fun. A lot of, like you said, it rings true. A lot of effort and half the reward, or half the income?
Half the compensation and twice the hours, but 5 times the reward factor.
5 times the reward factor. That's awesome. That is fantastic. So, in the 506, is it 501c?
Yeah, 501c. There's a 501c3, a 501c6, but yeah, basically it's a 501c category. Yeah.
There's a lot of competition out there. What sets you apart? What comes easy to you that doesn't come easy to everybody else?
Yeah, I think the team that we've created within the corporation is what sets us apart from most others. We've made it a point that we're primarily here to help the warfighter and to help small medium manufacturers, and we always emphasize that we do that through partnership and collaboration. We always emphasize that we do not own any IP, and we never want to own any IP. So we consider ourselves kind of the honest broker, the convener. And it's been a model that's been very, very successful for us. So we've grown the business from I think I just mentioned that previously, but it's been pretty good growth. So that we're doing something right? We're doing something.
You
right.
are.
Yeah.
And I want to specify as people that don't understand, IP is intellectual property. So anybody that has the idea of what they want to do, you guys don't want to take their idea. You want to just accentuate their idea.
That's correct. In fact, I even spend some of the let's call it excess revenue, since we're a not-for-profit, we don't really have profit, but some contracts allow us to charge a small fee, and over 20 some years, we may have built up a little bit of extra money that we keep for rainy days and cash flow. But occasionally, I will use some of that money for what you might call IRAD, where I fund university projects to come up with new ideas or mature technology. And a couple of those have even led to potential patent applications, with the understanding that if we do get a patent, we're going to give anybody that wants a license free. We're not in this to try to make money off of technology. We just simply don't want to own IP. So I think it's a good model. I think it's played very well. And we're able to attract what we call alliance partners that are companies that have IP that we feel could be brought to bear on an advanced manufacturing challenge that the Department of War might have. And that model has proven very well for us. So every year we end up recruiting about another dozen or so alliance partners through a formal vetting process that we go through that we think have technologies that could help in the future. So it's worked out well for us.
Awesome. If someone listening wants to get better at what you do, what suggestions and tips would you give them?
Yeah, I would say number one, you really have to build the team. The team that I have is what makes us successful. I've got literally an award-winning CFO who understands government contracts and government accounting rules as well as anyone can, and he's been recognized for that with awards. I've got an what I would call an executor, the gentleman that I made the CEO of NCDMM, who's overall my COO. He is a phenomenal executor and team builder. We spend a lot of our time and effort making sure that our team is working cohesively. I've been using an executive coach for more than 20 years. I met this person back when I worked for General Dynamics Corporation. When I came to this company, I brought him with me as a part-time executive coach. Not only has he worked with my direct reports, but he's worked now out of 87 employees. I think he's covered almost half of them with one-on-one assignments to help them get better. So we put a lot back into helping our workforce be the best they can be, if you will, and that pays huge dividends. I just recently we commissioned what I would call an organizational climate survey to make sure that we're not drinking our own bathwater. What kind of feedback are we getting from our employees? And this executive coach surveyed about a third of our workforce. And the good news is it's exactly what we had hoped would come back, and that is the culture that we have built here is one that our team members feel great working here. Our turnover rate is extremely low. So I think we've got the right formula. And the best way to try to emulate what we do is just be a servant leader, take care of your people, give them the opportunities that they can excel, and treat everyone fairly. I think those are kind of simple statements, but they work very well.
I agree wholeheartedly. Talking about leading a team, leading a team is challenging. What is the leadership style? And what is your leadership style? And what example could you give us about that?
Yeah, my leadership style is what I would call servant leadership. So I'm always asking my direct reports if there's more I can do to help them be more successful. I am not a hoverer. I've located what I would call extremely high talented people that are very good at what they do, so they don't need a lot of supervision. And because of that, I don't provide a lot of supervision. I allow them to excel and do what they do. We have infrequent meetings because we just don't need to have that many meetings, and they do a fantastic job of bringing in the business as well as executing the business, which allows me as the CEO to go out and explore other opportunities. I mean, in the last 5 years, I've acquired a couple of other small not-for-profits. I've formed a couple of other small not-for-profits that were just now getting off the ground. And I'm always looking for non-organic growth opportunities like that. So the only way I can do what I do is because I have a phenomenal team that's executing the business that's the primary driver of our company.
It's good. You hire the right people and let them do their job.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, when you're thinking back, has there been a moment that really changed the game for you in your career?
Yeah, I would say looking all the way back, I've been rather lucky in the sense that, I graduated from college. I had a degree in business. I would live in Hagerstown, Maryland, and the biggest employer at the time was Fairchild Republic Company, making the A-10 airplane. They were about halfway through the production of 700 and some planes. I've actually filed an application at the unemployment office, which is how Fairchild did their application process back then. And in the meantime, I'm working for a self-made millionaire in Hagerstown that owned all the bowling alleys and the skating rink and a restaurant and a bar. So I was managing the skating rink for him, closing up the bar at night and doing all the cash deposits. And all of a sudden, Fairchild called me, and it's about the same amount of money, but 40 hours a week, Monday through Friday, kind of 8 to 5 sort of a job, where the other job I had was a lot more than 40 hours a week, and it was all evenings and late nights till 2 a.m. kind of thing. So that was my big break, right? Just getting into a large defense company. And from there, you kind of make your own luck. So over 5 years, I went from being a associate industrial engineer doing time studies on the floor to working in the A-10 program office, and did that for a total of 5 years when a headhunter called me and said, hey, we've got this opportunity with this small company in York, Pennsylvania. They're looking for someone who's willing to go to Egypt and set up this advanced manufacturing line making tank ammunition. Well, I had two huge advantages. One was I grew up in my father's machine shop, so I knew a little bit about welding and machining. And secondly, I spent 5 years working at Fairchild, 4.5 of those in the A-10 program office, so I knew a lot about program management. Those two things combined, and my willingness to travel anywhere in the world, even though I had never been anywhere, literally. I mean, I think up until that time, I was 27 years old, and I only got on an airplane once in my life, and that was a company airplane at Fairchild to go up to Farmingdale, New York and back. So when I interviewed with the president of this small company, and he's like, seriously, you're willing to go to Egypt and live over there for almost a year? And I said, yeah, I mean, this would be a great opportunity. So that was my biggest break, I think, having the opportunity to lead a team over in Egypt, setting up a manufacturing line. And then we finished that one, and I got to do the same thing again in Turkey for about a year. And that led to other opportunities in the corporation. And once the small company was acquired by General Dynamics, I became the VP of marketing. I did that for a while, and then eventually was given a business unit to run that I did for my last 14 years there. So yeah, my biggest break was probably that job at Fairchild. And then other than that, the big job I got with the small company to go over to Egypt and get that kind of experience. I was very, very fortunate.
Yeah, it sounds like it. For all the people that don't understand what the A-10 program is, the A-10 is the Warthog, one of the driving forces of the U.S. military. They tried to get rid of it a few times, but it's been such a great airplane for defending our troops on the ground. They tried to make better than that, and they literally can't. That is one of the greatest airplanes, but that the military has been using for decades.
Highly maneuverable, 30 millimeter Gatling gun. You do not want to be inside of a tank if you see an A-10 coming at you. It's not a good day.
Near the end of that gun.
Yeah,
I think it's 6,000 rounds per minute. You guys decide.
Yeah. Here's a funny story. My middle son ends up going in the Air Force, and he's telling me one day, I mean, a very, very, low-ranking person, right? He said one day his job was to lay in a field for the A-10 pilots to buzz them. And he said it was the coolest thing because, those things look like at times they're not even moving because they're not a very fast jet.
No, they're not.
Yeah, but they're highly maneuverable. So he's telling me that, these A-10s were just flying right over top of him, and he thought it was the greatest thing. And I said, son, I made those A-10s. So
back in the day.
Yeah, that was a cool story. Yeah.
Those A-10s are literally the workhorse of the ground support for decades.
Absolutely.
Decades.
Yep.
Decades. And what I love about it is a friend of mine he was a tank commander. And he said, and how they just decommissioned a tank is they put it out there and see what the A-10 could do to it.
Exactly.
So the two things he told me is when the A-10 fires, well, let's put it this way. His job was to watch the tank when the A-10 took it out. So they used the Gatling gun and unloaded. So when they unloaded, the tank started exploding, and then you hear the sound doesn't travel as fast as the bullets.
Right.
That was very unique. So that the people that are the under end of that are getting blown up before they hear the sound, which is kind of unique.
Right.
And those things are literally tank busters. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to get too deep in this, but I heard that the fuselage for the pilots are made out of titanium, and they're very difficult to get through.
Well, they need to be, because they're sitting right on top of that 30 millimeter Gatling gun. And I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of just the gun when it fires all those rounds, it literally is glowing red hot, and they're sitting right on top of it. So that's got to protect them, right? So yeah.
I didn't think of that either. Plus, when they fire it, the plane's supposed to be going forwards, but it can actually stall the engines on some of them because the amount of ammo and force that it kicks out. They're a crazy machine. It's kind of cool that you got to play with those and start them up.
Well, then when I left Fairchild and joined the company that became a General Dynamics company, I went from making the airplane to making the bullets. We actually made the 30 millimeter rounds as one of the calibers. We produced 105 tank ammunition, 120 tank ammunition, 155 artillery ammunition, but we also made 20 millimeter, 25 millimeter, 30 millimeter. So it was kind of a full lap story there of all the things that go inside an A-10.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, it sounds like things are going pretty well for you financially. Thinking about the future, have you ever considered ways to create passive income without requiring doing so much hands-on?
Well, yeah. In fact, when I left General Dynamics Corporation, I had this investment over my 31-year career of what you would typically call 401k. So I rolled that in, from the account company that General Dynamics used, which was Fidelity. Nothing against Fidelity, but I rolled it into an IRA account. And then, after seeing the growth I had in that account for a number of years, I decided I wanted to diversify some. So I took a large portion of that IRA and rolled it into what's called a self-directed IRA. Mm-hmm. And in that self-directed IRA, I created an LLC. I linked the LLC to the self-directed IRA, so I have checkbook control over the funds in that self-directed IRA, and I've invested in so far 2 different pieces of real estate in order to have some kind of diversification of my portfolio and not just have everything in stock. And the real estate investments can produce some passive income.
Exactly, you get passive income, and you get appreciation, and you get huge tax savings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the president just signed July 4th, 100% bonus appreciation for real estate investors. So real estate investors get 100% of what they invest in a year off their taxes.
And by the way, some of the new bills that have been passed, they're looking at allowing companies to offer investment opportunities into real estate in their 401ks, right? So typically it's always been only stock that companies allow their employees to invest in the 401ks or the 403bs or the 457bs. But now they're going to have the opportunity. Now, of course, it's still up to the company working with whoever their agent is. Like my company uses Voya, General Dynamics uses Fidelity, but the company still has to make that decision to offer that to their employees. But I think they're going to find that that's going to be a great employee retention mechanism if they afford the opportunity for their employees to use some of their investments into things other than the stock market. So real estate could be a great investment opportunity.
So what kind of, do you know what kind of returns you're getting from the real estate versus stocks?
Well, the stock market has been doing pretty good.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, but the passive income I've been getting from the rental income on the real estate's been okay. No complaints there, but I would say it's too early for me to determine, what kind of market growth the actual real estate has had, because it's been a fairly recent endeavor, only in the last 2 years for me. Okay. So yeah, but I plan on keeping these investments for at least 10 more years, so we'll see how things go.
Awesome. Please let me know how you're doing. Typically, the real estate does a little bit better than stocks. But if you're doing great with stocks, that's a great investment.
The last 2 years in the stock market has been pretty good. So,
yeah, it has. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. Thank you for your time. Wrapping up the interview. Wondering what you got planned. What exciting plans you have in the next 6 to 12 months?
So right now, I can't talk too much about it, but I'm in negotiations for acquiring another not-for-profit organization that's right in our sweet spot. I'm very excited about it. All things, look so far. I got green lights everywhere, including from my board. So it'll take a couple of months probably to consummate it, but that will add probably another 15% or so on our top line. But more importantly, it's an area that we're currently not participating in so much. It's definitely in the advanced manufacturing area, I will say that, which is really my passion. So it's a great opportunity that sort of just landed in my lap, and so far everything seems to be all in favor. So yeah, very excited about that.
Awesome.
On the personal side, I've got my first grandson coming in December, and my youngest son's getting married in December. So lots of fun, exciting things coming up.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Congratulations. I had my first grandson a month ago, and
Congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know how to explain this to you, but the best way I can describe it, if I knew grandkids are so great, I would have had them first.
Well, I've got two granddaughters, 10 and 7, and they're awesome. And
Yeah.
but I'm looking forward to having a grandson as well. So very, very exciting times.
Awesome. Well, listen, Dean, I can't thank you enough. And if anybody would like to get in contact with you, how would they do that?
Yeah, best thing to do is just email me, dean.bartles, BARTLES, at MTDG.org. That's the Manufacturing Technology Deployment Group.
Awesome. Okay, listen, thanks again for your time. And for everybody else, please like and subscribe and hit the notification button. It helps out our channel and also helps out bringing the information to you guys. So, Dean, thanks so much for being on the call. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, Michael. Thanks for hosting.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.